in time to tell you thank you for the drive that you've given me, and without that I wouldn't have become a lieutenant commander. Or thank you for aiding me and teaching me a direction for me to become a dentist. And years later you get these calls and emails and so on and so forth, and it kind of puts a smile on you. But there's a lot of stuff that's gone on, a lot of history that happens before that, right? That person might have been training at the age of 13 to 16, got to been inspired, and so on and so forth. And a lot of us instructors might say, wait a minute, you know, he quit, he went on to college, and he never came back. But with that, he took with you a lot of experience, a lot of goal searching, a lot of personal, how can I say, gain that it goes on. And people say, but he quit. And I was pondering on that because my son and I were touching base several about quitting, those that have come by and that. And I said, is quitting such a bad word? Is it a word that many should follow? And when you stop to think about it, martial arts teaches us to quit. Teaches us to quit being around bad peers. When you're in high school and you see that person over there going the wrong side of town, that he's doing drugs, it teaches us to quit and not hang around with that person. When we start moving forward and they say, hey, come over, we're at the bar at 1 o'clock at night, and you say, you know what, I have to train for this fight, it teaches us to quit from going in that road. So the first thing that martial arts teaches us to do is quit bad habits. And that is the hardest thing for a person to understand. Of course, many stop for many other reasons. But quitting is not a word if you use it in a positive direction, right? And some people might say, you know what, I'm training for this fight, but you're telegraphing a punch. And your coach in the other second comes in and says, you know what, you have to close in a little bit more. Quit training that way. So you quit doing the bad things. And that is something that martial arts brings forth. It gives you an idea to think, a free-thinking mentality, to grab the positive and quit doing the negative and moving forward in life. And I think that's what I have gotten from the martial arts as a whole, you know, when you start looking into that. The other major lesson, as we were talking about yesterday, is timing. You know, martial arts, they say, well, you know, he does it so soft. It's years of practice. No, it's not. It's timing. He has figured out timing. So how does timing help a person that does boxing, kempo, savate, capoeira, karate, what have you, eskrima, silat, all those different arts that are out there, wrestling? What happens to those individuals? What have they learned about timing? Well, timing means dedication. You know what? I have to be at the gym to train at 6 o'clock. That's timing. And they say, how does that affect somebody when he leaves and starts going back into the community and going into the daily things of life as we grow up? Well, number one is we have to be on time for work. And you can ask our city manager how many times, if you start getting habitually late, how long is it going to take you to be fired? So that's number one. So either you learn timing from the discipline that you get at home, you learn timing through the arts of pugilism, or you might end up in the military, which they're going to force timing down your throat. One way or another, you're going to learn about timing. Or you're going to realize one day that I woke up late and I was in college and I missed the exam, and the professor said, well, too bad, should have been here on time. He says, well, how does that have something to do with the martial arts? Well, if your timing's off, you got punched in the face. You got kicked in the crotch. You got your wind knocked out. You're laying in the floor looking up. Why? Because your timing was off. And that's the second lesson that martial arts, and all martial arts, all forms of fighting give you is that timing. When we came back into the time frame of how we produced this 14 years ago, my uncle, my Sifu, already had passed by. And there were several people that appreciated a lot of my uncle, what he had done here back in the 60s and so on and so forth. And his name is Untitled Chapter. And some of the old timers said, what are we going to do for his 10-year anniversary? Like, well, let's do a workshop. Let's do some workshops. Let's try to bring in people together. And that's how the Hall of Fame was formed. So let's find out what a Hall of Fame needs to be. Well, number one, you fall under a 501c3 or a C4. But there's certain requirements. One, you cannot give a stipend. That means you can't pay for somebody to come here. One, you cannot accept money for somebody to be in the Hall of Fame. Okay? Then as it goes on, you have to have memorabilia from that individual so that person's in there to actually form a Hall of Fame. If you don't have that, it's not one. So there's a lot of little things that we have to learn and move forward. From the beginning time, many of the city councilmen were very much behind it. And it grew because it started growing as time progressed, and the city has been helping us, supporting this event for a very long time. Number one, we thank you all for doing that. Because it's an endeavor not for Paul Buitron, it's an endeavor for everybody that's here in Laredo. It's an endeavor for those that are in Texas. And it's an endeavor for those that are not only in Texas, across the globe, that have given their life, that have given their time to produce good citizens of society. And I think that's what we all need to be, that's the accomplishment they have brought forth in their different areas where they live. So from here, I'm going to pass on the mic, and I'm going to pass on the mic to our dear friend, our city manager, Robert Eads, and he can talk a little bit about what we're bringing forward, and we'll take it from there. Okay?
Good afternoon, everyone. Great to see everybody out and about. That's what we want to see more and more of. Again, I'm the city manager for the city of Laredo, and so a lot of stuff Paul touched on there's relativity to it all. There's a reason for that. I'm a former Marine, and that's where I got my sense of discipline, and so that was truly kicked into me. But I got a lot of things out of it. I'll tell you, that's where you start learning some basic principles of life. Some very simple things, but you learn them nonetheless. What I want to say about that, especially to say, well, how does that relate to, let's say, a city manager from a city? I'll give you the connection. So we're a city of about 3,000, our organization, our city is about 3,000 employees. We run a $1 billion business. And as we hire, which I'm the final authority on hires, and I sit in those hiring interviews. And when I tell everybody, our staff, and the way I hire is not put by what you bring on a piece of paper. It's not what's hung on your wall somewhere. I truly hire the person first, right? Because I can teach somebody to probably dig a hole. I can teach somebody to probably run a group of kids at a recreation center. But I can't teach you those basics where you're motivated enough to come to work, where you're able to provide that service. And so when I see those individuals, I bring them to our team. And then I match them up with whatever service that they have. So it starts there with what you're gaining, and I'm talking about to the younger ones in the room. What you gain from this is just that, because employers will see that. We look for obviously military service, but you also, when you have this dedication to whatever it is in your life, and if it is this type of approach that you thankfully will follow as Paul, and it's really downhill from there. Now let me go back to the city though. So I'm here again representing the city. We support the endeavor. We appreciate everybody coming out here without a doubt and enjoying our city as well. We will continue to do that. There's a lot of stuff going on today. There's a lot of stuff going on tomorrow, next week, and you know what? I know there's still COVID out there. Really, I got hired March 4th, 2020, and 9 days later we had an emergency meeting to declare a pandemic on us. And so all we've been doing is pandemic. So now we're finally coming out. We're getting out, doing what we want to do, and this kind of event, this kind of service is what we want to provide. So we will continue to engage. We will continue to sponsor this type of event for you all to be here, bringing families. It's incredible. And I got to say one last thing too. So I go to a whole lot of different events and you know, speak to a whole lot of different people. It's great listening to people from out of town. Great listening to Laredoans as well. Full disclosure, my mother lives here too, right? This is my hometown and I'm the city manager. She is my biggest critic. And she will call me and tell me, Mijo, you know, why does my street look this bad? Or why is the trash not coming on time? So I have that on top of me. What I wanted to say also is the young ones in the crowd, and all the way down to, you know, 1, 2, 3, all the way up, you're taking a path that we'd like to be a part of as well. So remember too, we'll continue to support this endeavor for a lot of different reasons, but mostly too, it's something that will give back to our community. I know it when we have individuals that are dedicated to whatever it is that they want to dedicate themselves, because that's where I would hire. I would hire somebody who's willing to dedicate all the time that's necessary, all the commitment necessary, waking up at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, staying later in the day, but put in the time. To me, that's more impressive than a 4-year degree, a 6-year degree, or a doctorate degree. If I can see that you are that type of person that bring that level of commitment, you have unlimited potential for success, because you're walking around with that basic skill set that most of the people out there in this room do not have. It takes a special commitment, and people who see that will know that, and then will allow for things to happen on your part. So congratulations to you all the family members as well. Count on their commitment again for the city of Laredo, and for all that who are not here from city of Laredo, please enjoy our town. Go spend some money if you can, and hopefully you'll be back next year as well. So thank you again. Congratulations, Paul. Thank you.
It's true, our biggest critics, they say, are moms, and I see that at school. We have some moms out there that push their kids that are great. But let me tell you a little bit about, within the 14th year, if you guys can go through your program, how many are no longer there, you know? They're no longer here with us. In the first page, Roger LaFont's no longer here with us, you know? He's up in the celestial gym, the one that's not made with hands, human hands. Then you have Don Navaleva, below him, is no longer there with him. So you can see history going through. Our dear friend, my brother, Frank Trejo's no longer there with us. Paul Silva is no longer here with us. Alfredo Bandalan, on the next page, he just passed away, he's no longer here with us. As we flip the page, we have Mr. Sabu, which we know very well. He's no longer here with us. We have, on the next page, Pierre Leblond, who was the oldest SAVATE professor back then, and he's no longer with us. You know, we continue going down. Michael Blea is no longer. Steve LeBounty is no longer. Grandmaster Sam Wood, which loved Laredo, you know, and we're trying to bring him back. And I had just spoken with him on Friday, and then his wife calls me on Saturday that he had passed on Saturday night, you know. So that's the history that we're trying to preserve. People say, do we have posthumous awards? No, you have to be alive and kicking. And our great friend, Art Gonzalez, who passed away days before the event 3 years ago. History, techniques, culture that is no longer here again. And some of their students continue with them, and some of them do not. Okay? When we opened the Hall of Fame, we started first that you have to be of a lineage of a martial art, be able to come down and find out, okay, he was the old sensei Ueshiba was the one that founded Aikido. Where are you in that generation gap? You know, where do you fall in line to be able to be inducted? Then later on they said, we need Laredo. Of course, Laredo has great pugilists. Okay, we have had actually, and I don't know why, and I'm glad that our city manager's here, but we have 4 world champions from Laredo. They always claim 2. There's 4. You had Battling Shaw in the 50s and 40s. They say Jimmy Wong was a world champion, but then they say he was born in Fresno, California, but lived here. Then you had the 2 Canizales brothers, Orlando and Gabriel. And of course we have Hector Ferrero. Those are 4, with a question mark, 5th world champions. Boxing is a town, Laredo comes from a boxing town. And I'm so glad to see boxers and boxing gyms start emerging now. For a long time they were dead. And we have an icon that's sitting down at the end, Boxer Sergio Reyes, your father senior, which I'm glad he is here present because he's one that started alongside Dandy Ramirez, who is being inducted today, the POW program of boxing. You know how many kids have gone through the POW district in the city? And then some of them became great champions, some of them became great thugs, and some of them became great citizens of Laredo. But we produced a lot of great elements in boxing. Okay, and boxing is Laredo's heart, and that's what keeps Laredo pumping forward. Now, I'm going to go ahead and bring in our liaison from Representative Richard Raymond before we kick everything else off, because I think he called me up and he said I'm not going to be able to make it, have a prior engagement. So, yeah.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Graciela Villarreal, and I am the District Director for State Representative Richard Peña Raymond. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here with us today, but I have here this state resolution. So I'm going to go ahead and read resolution number 289. Whereas members of the USA SAVATE organization are celebrating World Pugilist Hall of Fame Day on November 8, 2021, and whereas pugilism encompasses various forms of hand-to-hand combat, and these disciplines have won millions of passionate fans and participants around the globe, a subcommittee of the USA SAVATE, the World Pugilist Hall of Fame, preserves the heritage and accomplishments of those who exemplify the highest ideals of the pugilistic arts, and whereas to be inducted into the World Pugilist Hall of Fame, individuals must excel as teachers and competitors in their particular fields of martial arts and must meet rigorous eligibility criteria, including direct lineage to the founder, a style or system. They must also exemplify the traditions associated with their discipline, and whereas the World Pugilist Hall of Fame is furthering the exceptional legacy of an exciting and demanding form of athletic competition, the members of the USA SAVATE are indeed deserving of special recognition for their many contributions to the martial arts community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the House of Representatives of the 87 Texas
This is a work of every single person that's inside here in this room today. Okay? All the guys that had black eyes, busted noses, knocked out hair, the moms that were complaining about they have to watch soap opera and they have to take the kids to class. This is for you all. I want to thank you all. Okay? As we continue moving forward, we're going to start bringing in the folks that are going to be inducted. And they can say a little piece. If I can have somebody to help me. Let me see. Lino, can you come here? Leo, can you come help me? And I'll call you all out and say, please stand by, kind of keep on moving forward until everybody's done, and we'll move forward with the event. The first one, and we'll get him at the end, is Mr. Hulk. He couldn't make it because in Brazil at that time frame, the tickets could not be bought because everything was closed. A little bit about Mr. Hulk. Back in the 90s, he beat up those of the Gracies, which people who follow UFC ended up becoming after the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. He's an incredible athlete in Rio, continues teaching, continues moving forward, and as that, we'll talk to him in a bit, we'll connect with him, and he wanted to say a couple of words, okay? He wanted to say thank you all, that you will be here. We will bring them in next year. There's two others that were there, Claude Simono, which is right now the oldest of SAVATE. He's 87 years old. Once more, he could not come because of the COVID issue. And the other one was Adrian Sabatier. Adrian is a phenomenal athlete, okay? If you look at him and you see him fight, he'll be like Sugar Ray Leonard of the boxing world, you know. I remember in '90, he was told from a kickboxer here, whose name was Melendez from New Jersey, and it was all over the news in France that he was challenged. Melendez says, you know, I can take you guys from Box and SAVATE any day. You guys are no match for me. So Adrian said, okay. So he came over to Atlantic City, first round, knocked him out in 30 seconds. And you always can see that fight on YouTube. It's Adrian Sabatier with Melendez. And he's phenomenal. He's head of police in Marseille. And once more, he could not make it. So the next down the line will be Norman Johnson from Small Circle Jiu-Jitsu. And if you guys are interested, look up who their teachers were, who they are. More likely they're on YouTube somewhere or another. And Wally J was a legend in the martial arts. He formalized a system of Jiu-Jitsu that's called Small Circle. So look them up to see where they're at. Norman? This is from you. Thank you. And this is from USA SAVATE. Thank you. Congressman Cuellar, the city of Laredo, County Judge, Caro Tijerina, and Justice of the Peace, Jose Pepe Salinas.
I'm honored. Thank you very, very much. I was blessed. First day of high school, they lined us up alphabetically and they put me next to a young kid named Jay. I was 14 years old. And my father was a black belt and tried to get me into the martial arts when I was 10 years old, and I wanted nothing to do with it. It was a bunch of smelly old men in their pajamas making funny noises. Nothing to do with it. But I became inducted into the J family and became, well, it started off with, well, you either learn to eat with chopsticks or you're not going to get to eat. Like, you don't have forks in the house? No, we don't have any forks in the house. Okay, learn to eat with chopsticks. And I was blessed, my sensei taught in 72 countries, and he taught Bruce Lee Jiu-Jitsu. They were close friends. I never got to meet Bruce, but I'm good friends with Linda, his wife. And I've been blessed with a wonderful opportunity, and now my opportunity to share it. So, thank you very much, and thanks for coming.
And I go in there and start looking at who's who in YouTube and find out who their instructors were, because you'll see some stuff there. The next one under the world lineage is Sifu Bob Fitzgerald, and he comes out of American Kempo Karate. He comes from a close brother, Sifu, close to me, that passed on, whose name was Frank Trejo. And Sifu. USA SAVATE, and again, this is for all the taken care of.
I started in martial arts after having a few really bad injuries, and I wanted to play around with karate before I was going to be thrown in the towel. Everybody was telling me how, the worst thing in the world you could be doing, and so I thought I'd play with it for a little while. And 30 years later, I'm still playing with it, and I'm amazed that people let me hit them. And I'm amazed at how much fun it is getting hit. I had the honor of meeting Frank Trejo, an amazing guy. Anybody who's ever met him can tell you that, not just because of his fighting skill. He just had a spirit that could fill a room. And if I hadn't met him back in, it was 1993, I definitely wouldn't still be here. I probably would have passed on this as a hobby a long time ago. And to be here among all of you is a great honor. Thank you very much.
As time progressed within the Hall of Fame, they said we need Texas and honored pugilists. The next two are individuals that have been involved with the arts and pushing them into different areas. The next one is Master Wes Richardson, who has a club not only in San Angelo but also in Dallas now, and moving forward. And his nickname is Sasquatch, if you don't understand that.
I just want to thank everybody for being here. This is a really interesting honor. It's really unnerving to be standing in front of a whole bunch of people like this for me, because I'm a pretty introverted guy. But really, this award for me, it's really for my students, my parents, my friends, everybody else that encouraged me and allowed me to continue training and being the person that I am today. So for Greg and Brian, I just want to thank you guys. I also want to thank Paul for having us.
The other one is Guru Tim, and Tim has been involved in martial arts all his life. From DFW, he's one of the ones that inspired us to promote and put together the Gentleman's Stick Fighting Coalition and move it forward. And he's an individual that if you're ever in Waco, go train with him. Or if you have somebody, that's where it's all about. Good people.
I'm not much of a public speaker. I don't like crowds. I'm kind of shy. It is amazing to be standing here and actually get this award. When he first called and told me about it, I was kind of shocked. When I first met Professor in 2013 or 14, I was actually teaching a seminar, and he showed up to pay respect to my instructor who was there with me, and then we just kind of clicked and had a kindred spirit in martial arts. The cool thing about martial arts is learn the different things that motivate certain people. I have students that I have to yell at them to get them on fire, and I have other people I have to compliment them, so it kind of teaches you how to deal with everyone. But I appreciate everybody being here. Sorry if I'm kind of shaky and nervous, but I appreciate it.
ended up with the Laredo honored pugilists. And when it first started, there's a history because we were all sitting down at a table, and I said, we have to get the old guys first before they go. A lot of the guys kind of looked at each other and they got mad and they left. And I said, well, sorry, but you know, that's who comes first. So within 14 years, the first one that has been honored today is
Laredo.
we got Dietheim, which
Thank you very much. This is a great honor. Paul and I have known each other since junior high, and you know, it's interesting because there's not many of us here in martial art world that have continued our martial art careers for over 30 years. Some for 40, some for 50, and it's a way of life for all of us. So it's very powerful. It makes us a better person. We not just better fighters, but also a better person to help the community out. You know, my sensei used to always tell me, you have to become a pillar of yourself, to become a pillar of your family, and a pillar of your community by using martial arts to strengthen that. And that's what I'm a firm believer on. It's a great honor to be with everybody here because we got to meet, and this is a great class. I'm truly honored. And the only other way I can say is, in the Japanese way, is the most honorable way, is domo arigatou gozaimasu. Thank you very much for all this.
the next individual has been in boxing for a very long time. I've known him since I was probably 13, 14 years old. We've kind of changed boxing in 2000, 2001, 2002. That's why we have so many boxing gyms now, especially with the city. And his name is Coach Juan Dandy Ramirez.
Muchas gracias por este award que me dio profesor Paul Fitzgerald. Les quiero dar las gracias a todos los que están aquí presentes por este award, por estar aquí y gracias.
The next one is the Laredoan Sergio Reyes Jr. Sergio Reyes.
Good afternoon. Just want to say I've been around boxing all my life because I was about 4 years old. Started following my dad to the gym. I was again 4 years old. Started boxing. Stopped at the age of 17. At the age of 27, I turned professional. Had 10 pro fights representing the city of Laredo. I was also glad to say that. In boxing, I relate boxing a lot. I was a former police officer for 20 years in the city of Laredo, retired about 5 years ago. And now I'm teaching at UISD. I teach criminal justice, along with Mr. Juan Ramirez, who is a really good friend of mine. But he teaches body. What I can say is that when I'm in school, I pretty much relate boxing with when I was a police officer, I related to a lot of dedication. You have to be smart, right? Boxing, it's hard work. Being a police officer was very hard also at the same time. And now that I'm teaching, I try to teach my kids at school that it's, I pretty much always go back to my trainings, to the ways when I was out in the streets patrolling. And as far as when I would prepare myself the same way when I would have a professional match, right? And I tell these kids, you always got to be mentally prepared for anything you do. So all I can say is that thank you for it's a privilege to be here with Mr. Padron. I know you've been calling me about 3 years ago, for whatever reason, it wouldn't work out. But I'm happy to be here among these men. It's a privilege and an honor. Thank you.
You guys want to take some pictures of the lineup? Thank you all. And right now we'll have some demonstrations from and to show the different arts for you guys to see what goes on, you know, because there's so many arts out there, and there's so many different ways of fighting, and you know, and it just basically those are the cultures that bring out communities, nations together. Cuisine, music, and pugilism. If you look at it that way, it is right, because yes.